One hijacked plane, one impossible rescue. It was June 27, 1976, a night like any other, until an Air France Airbus A300 carrying nearly 250 passengers from Tel Aviv to Paris was seized over Athens. Diverted to Libya, then Kenya, it finally landed at Uganda's Entebbe airport under the protection of brutal dictator Idi Amin. His support for the hijackers created a ticking time bomb. 83 Israeli and Jewish passengers were now hostages, housed in a dilapidated old terminal, while demands for the release of Palestinian terrorists grew more ominous with each passing hour. Amid mounting fear, a debate erupted in Israel's war rooms. Negotiate to save lives or plan a daring strike halfway across the continent. Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin leaned toward a diplomatic solution. Defense Minister Shimon Peres pressed for action. Ultimately, courage won. Israel opted to act, planning the impossible, intelligence and allies. Israel had no playbook for storming an airport 2,500 miles away, but it had advantages. Intel from released non-Israeli hostages, blueprints from the Israeli firm that built Entebbe's terminal, and Kenyan cooperation to allow refueling at Nairobi. An extraordinary diplomatic feat given regional politics. Up to 190 elite commandos, led by Lieutenant Colonel Yonatan Yoni Netanyahu, began rehearsing relentlessly. They prepared vehicles, including a black Mercedes identical to Idi Amin's official car, to deceive Ugandan sentries. Timing was everything. The flight, 2,500 miles in silence. On the night of July 3rd, 4 Israeli C-130 Hercules transport planes, escorted by 2 Boeing 707s, flew low and silent from Sharm el-Sheikh across Sudan and into Uganda, avoiding radar detection, politics, and suspicion. One 707 loitered near Entebbe, ready as a medical plane should the mission falter. The first Hercules touched ground just before midnight. The element of surprise was intact, until a command misstep changed everything. Chaos at dawn. The assault begins. The black Mercedes rolled toward the old terminal. Ugandan guards approached, but something faltered. A sentry, unsettled by detail, confronted the vehicle, and an Israeli operative fired a silenced pistol. The sound shattered stealth, and the operation exploded into violence. Within moments, Israeli commandos stormed the terminal. Hijackers and armed Ugandan soldiers were neutralized. Hostages were ordered to lie on the ground in Hebrew and English. Despite the loss of surprise, Sayeret Matkal's precision kept chaos brief. Israeli forces secured the terminal, eliminated all 7 hijackers, and began evacuating 102 hostages within roughly 90 minutes. Collateral targets crippling pursuit. At the same time, Israeli troops conducted a daring sabotage. They destroyed more than 11 MiG fighter jets, MiG-17s and 21s on the tarmac to prevent retaliation. This element of destruction was controversial, but crucial. Sacrifice and tragedy in the dark. The mission's toll was not insignificant. 3 hostages were killed during the firefight. Israeli commander Yoni Netanyahu was fatally shot in a rearguard action. A 4th hostage, Dora Bloch, was taken to a local hospital before the raid, and later murdered on Idi Amin's orders. Approximately 45 Ugandan soldiers were killed, along with the 7 hijackers. Escape and triumph. Less than 60 minutes after touchdown, the Israeli forces boarded their planes. They flew via Nairobi, where they refueled and treated the wounded, and returned to Israel. El Al jets welcomed them home amid cheers. The operation was heralded globally. A tactical masterstroke executed hundreds of miles from home with precision, courage, and cost. Aftermath, politics, fallout, legacy. Uganda condemned the raid as a violation of sovereignty. Amin retaliated viciously. He executed dozens of Kenyans suspected of aiding Israel and ordered the killing of Dora Bloch. The United Nations called it a breach of Uganda's sovereignty, but many Western nations praised Israel's resolve. Israel celebrated a new era of confidence. Its success restored morale after the trauma of the Yom Kippur War 2 years earlier and influenced counterterrorism doctrine worldwide. Yoni Netanyahu's death weighed heavily. His brother, Benjamin Netanyahu, would famously enter Israeli politics, carrying his memory into leadership. Why Operation Thunderbolt still resonates. It showcased the power of intelligence, daring logistics, and elite forces. It proved a state would go to extremes to rescue its citizens. It set the template for future hostage rescues, long-range, commando-led, highly coordinated. Operation Thunderbolt is more than history. It's the epitome of precise courage under pressure, an operation where the impossible became reality, and where sacrifice echoed through generations.